The Cincinnati police cruiser that lost control on a curve on August 3rd, 2015, left an impact on Bobby Burgess.
It's been a year of bad impact.
Burgess just bought this 2007 Honda Civic 9 days before the crash.
That's it. What's left of it. It kind of turns my stomach to see it.
The wrecked car now sits in his father-in-law's driveway.
And I'm sitting with this wreck. I mean, I can't do anything with this, obviously.
Burgess can't do anything because he's stuck with the bill from that crash, $12,321.65. While the accident report clearly states the police cruiser failed to maintain control in a curve, the city of Cincinnati denied Bobby Burgess's claim, stating, quote, "The city of Cincinnati is immune from liability for damages while police officers are on a call of duty." This Ohio law does allow Cincinnati and all cities in Ohio to deny claims like Bobby's if police, fire, or EMS personnel are responding to an emergency call and there's no willful or wanton misconduct. The cruiser that hit Bobby's car was responding to a robbery call with lights and siren at the time of the crash. We wanted to know how many claims are filed here at City Hall and how the city handles them. So I filed a public records request asking for all claims made between January 1st, 2015 and April 1st, 2017. After nearly 3 months and numerous emails, I finally got those records and sorted the results. Here's the breakdown for the police claims. 27 citizens filed claims with the city to be reimbursed for damages totaling $120,738.15. A little more than half those claims, 14, were approved. But the city paid the full amount of damages just 5 times. In 7 cases, the city covered the deductible, and 9 cases were denied with 0 payouts. In the end, the city of Cincinnati settled more than $120,000 in claims for $32,939.30, saving nearly $88,000 by paying 27% of the full claims. For Bobby Burgess, the savings for the city is a $12,000 burden on him. What'd the city do to you?
They destroyed my property. They gave me a lot of bills to deal with it, and then they said, you know, tough luck.
We wanted to know if Cincinnati's elected leaders thought Bobby should be reimbursed despite that law. I repeatedly requested a one-on-one interview with Mayor John Cranley and his opponent, Councilwoman Yvette Simpson, but neither agreed. At the local 12 mayoral debate before the May primary, we asked both if Bobby Burgess should be paid back.
I think that's something that if the law has some sort of loophole, we need to make sure we correct it. I mean, I think if we're at fault, we should certainly take care of it.
Yeah, I think we should. Obviously, as Councilmember Simpson said, we should first see if insurance covers it. But beyond that, if there are out-of-pocket losses that can be verified, I think in this case, as you describe it, the answer is yes.
That was April. Anybody get a hold of you?
Nope, not yet.
And Bobby is still paying. Lost everything in this one.
Yeah.
For a crash that was not his fault. You think you're going to get your money?
I can only hope. I really hope so.
Of course, I'll continue to try to get some answers. In the meantime, our investigation has triggered a push for a major change at the Ohio State House. I'll tell you about the call for a new law as fallout continues from our exclusive investigation of police immunity. I'm Duane Pohlman reporting. Yeah, it's a law that some lawyers claim has gone too far. Last month I showed you this case where a Cincinnati police cruiser responding to an emergency call lost control and crashed into a parked car. That car was totaled, and even though the officer was at fault, the city says it's immune from paying for damages. Now, up the road in Dayton, I found an even more startling crash. An officer there did not turn on his lights and siren when his cruiser struck and severely injured a woman in a wheelchair. The city of Dayton claimed it was immune from paying any of her big medical bills. And when the case went to court, the city won.
I don't remember how I got to the hospital.
Donna Siege can't recall the moment in 2011 when a Dayton police cruiser hit her.
The crash, yes.
Donna, who suffers from multiple sclerosis, was trying to cross the street in a wheelchair. At this intersection, the cruiser crash tossed Donna into the street.
20 feet across the street.
When he hit you?
Yeah.
She was rushed to the hospital and treated for a long list of injuries.
My daughter was scary.
It took months for Donna to begin to heal.
3 months.
She's never completely recovered.
My legs, it's very hard for me to walk. Okay, I have to struggle to stand. My legs hurt all the time.
From the accident?
From the accident.
Attorney Doug Brannon represented Donna, filing this lawsuit against the officer and the city of Dayton to compensate her for those injuries.
She suffered over $250,000 in medical bills from that hit. She sustained permanent injuries for the rest of her life.
The facts of the case, Brannon says, appeared to be on his client's side. The Dayton officer stated he was going 40 miles per hour, which is the speed limit. But in an interview with a detective shortly after the collision, the officer admitted he was not looking ahead of him, but was looking for criminal activity to his left for 4 to 5 seconds before striking Donna in her wheelchair. And the Dayton officer admits he was responding to a non-emergency call.
Did not have lights engaged. He was on his way to an accident scene, the police officer was, where there were already 3 other officers on the scene, no injuries, there was no emergency.
That's important because the language of Ohio's law states cities are granted immunity from damage and injury claims when an officer is responding to an emergency call, and the operation of the vehicle did not constitute willful or wanton misconduct. In a case I investigated last month, a Cincinnati police officer was responding with lights and sirens when he lost control of his cruiser, slamming into a parked car, totaling it.
I get stuck with the bill.
In Dayton, the cruiser had no lights and no siren, and Donna says she had no warning.
He didn't have one light on. He didn't have one emergency.
But when Donna and her attorney went to court, they lost.
Our trial judge said that immunity applies.
Brannon disagreed with the ruling and appealed. But the Ohio Court of Appeals 2nd District sided with the city of Dayton, stating an emergency call means any call to duty.
Our Court of Appeals said that immunity applies.
And when Brannon tried to take the case to Ohio's highest court,
our Ohio Supreme Court wouldn't even hear the appeal. If they won't hear a case like Donna Siege's, it's hard to believe that they'd hear any case at all or even care enough to hear it.
Which leaves Brannon with one conclusion when it comes to crashes involving police cruisers.
It's my opinion that virtually these cases can no longer be won. This is the reality of what we're living in right now, and it's not right, and it's not fair, and it needs to change.
I requested an interview with the police officer and Dayton's mayor to discuss this case. Instead, the city sent a short email stating, "We are going to decline to comment at this time."
The policeman hit me, and it was not my fault.
Since the crash, Donna has been trying to weave her life back together, but she worries about others who have an unexpected run-in with police.
I feel sorry for them.
For who?
Because they have everybody else. Because they have no clue of what they walking into when they go out there on the street thinking they safe.
Ironically, even though the city of Dayton avoided paying for Donna's bills here, taxpayers still got the bill in all. Medicaid had to pay the entire $258,000. And one more point, and I think this is really important. If you think your comprehensive insurance policy will compensate you, we talked about this the first round, you better think again. According to Brannon, increasingly insurers are denying the claim, saying they will not cover damages when the other party is at fault. So it is a big deal.
You're just really left with nothing in this
Well,
case.
if the city doesn't pay and your insurance doesn't pay, you're left with the bill. She had Medicaid. That was lucky this time.
What, does it happen a lot? I don't hear of this a lot, but no doubt you know.
You know, we are trying to get the quantification. The city of Cincinnati says it will provide some of the police numbers now, finally. But according to Brandon, and he's been looking at this, there are thousands of these crashes every year, he says, across the state of Ohio. And he believes that in the total, it's very, very limited how the cities will pay for them.
All right, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Partisan.
A Local 12 News investigation is triggering a call for change at Ohio's State House.
Some lawmakers are backing a bill that would force cities to pay for damages and crashes caused by police and other emergency vehicles. Duane Pohlman's investigation spurred the action, which could lead to a new law.
My first hope would be that the law gets changed, so what happened to me won't happen to anybody else.
Bobby Burgess stepped up, agreeing to testify at the Ohio State House about this crash. That's a Cincinnati police cruiser spinning out of control and slamming into Bobby's car. It was a total loss.
State law allowed Cincinnati to completely avoid paying out anything.
Bobby, who was featured in our Local 12 investigation, described to state representatives seated on the House Civil Justice Committee his disappointment and financial hardship when the city of Cincinnati refused to pay more than $12,000 in damages, writing, "This Ohio law means cities are immune from liability."
It was only when Local 12 investigative reporter Duane Pohlman heard my story that I began to get any kind of traction.
Bobby's case was far from alone. We uncovered the case of Donna Siege, who was struck in her wheelchair by a Dayton police car. Again, the city refused to pay, saddling Siege with $250,000 in medical bills.
The policeman hit me.
It was phenomenal that you, Mr. Pohlman, on Channel 12 Investigates had already done the legwork for me.
State Representative Catherine Ingram, a Democrat from Cincinnati, spurred by our investigation, authored this bill to change Ohio's immunity law, ending blanket immunity, forcing cities to maintain funds and pay people for damages caused by emergency crews who are not responding to an emergency at the time of the crash. You going to get this passed, do you think?
I hope so. I think so. I really do.
Ingram's bill is getting bipartisan support, including from the Republican chair of the committee, who says some changes will be needed.
I do think it needs to be tweaked.
That tweaking may begin with a key word: emergency. While immunity would still be in play for things like police chases, an emergency response is still not defined in the bill.
I will say lights or sirens. Mainly because there are times, say, if they don't want the suspect, if they're on their way to...
Understood.
They don't want... So, yeah, I think that should be included as part of a definition.
Whatever the changes, lots of lawmakers agree. For Bobby and others, this law has had an impact, and that needs to change.
Whether it's a police vehicle or another vehicle, and you know it's not a life-threatening emergency, and they're just driving down the street and they run into your car, I think most people would say they should pay for the damages.
There are a lot of steps before this bill becomes law, and most say there will be changes along the way. Of course, we'll be following up every step of the way. I'm Duane Pohlman, Local 12 News.
This investigation started with a tip. If you have a tip for Duane, call him at our Local 12 investigation tip line, 763-5425.